There's a
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Eat, Crit and Survive, where a bunch of people gather in different locations to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Yay!
At last, it's been a while. Now I see my remote control that goes across from my tablet to my Stream Deck did not connect. That's unhelpful.
Technology!
Yay! It has been the bane of our existence for the last week, as those of you who watched us on Wednesday will attest to. For whatever reason, midway through our playthrough of the Red Cathedral, it just stopped. The internet just stopped being a thing. So we lost the other half of the episode. But if you were interested in the result, I won. So
Just.
I won on the tie break.
I lost badly.
Not that badly.
Yeah, pretty well.
Not that badly.
It was only like five or 6 points.
No, it wasn't. You guys were like in the top corner. I was still like in the bottom.
Well, that's because the gap in the prestige is further.
Yes, exactly.
I think we ended on like 45, 46.
46 for us.
I think it was like early 30s. Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it was a fun game. And we'll probably go back and play it again sometime so that you guys can see it a bit more. But tonight we are focusing on the D&D. And today we have Dom, who is representing Foundling.
Hello.
We have Tom, who is representing Lirale Yavolwa. And we have Laura, who is Lila.
Hi, my name's Lila. Breeze, not two. Nice to see ya.
What's the rest of your name?
Lila Edison today at Ren.
There you go.
Breeze, not two.
That's how many she took.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, constantly. Connor and Ross and Matt will turn up eventually.
It's going to be a surprise to us all.
Connor is somewhere. Matt is still on. Is
Possibly exploded.
Probably exploded. Who knows? He has a very dangerous job as an engineer. Matt is probably on his way back from being a chef, and Ross is trying to put a baby to sleep. Humanely, he's putting it.
Go to sleep.
But we figured we might as well come in, say hi, see how people are doing, and we will get on with the game. You have to forgive me because I have the stream monitoring is over on my right hand side. There's a Ross!
Hey.
What a welcome.
Top tier dadding. You said you were going to put the baby to sleep, and he is asleep. Or your wife is.
No, the first option I was successful.
Nice.
Oh, nice. You passed your dad check.
It's not always the case, but at least this time I was successful.
He knew it was important.
I'm saying goodbye to someone who I've been with for 3 years. It has been over 3 years. I had to look at it. The first episode that we did that we put onto YouTube was in September 2019. Early September 2019.
Wow.
That was episode 42
Of this campaign?
this campaign. We're at 131.
Wow.
This is 131. Which I like for a palindrome, but also sad. But yeah, if we were at 41 in that September, that means we've been going for over a year by that point.
Goodness me.
Wow.
Well, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes, when COVID was just a collection of letters put together.
It was.
Oh,
Matt arrived, and Matt has arrived, and Tilly has woken up.
don't you tell my dog to shut up.
Until Connor arrives, the part of Asher will be played by the dog.
I mean, she probably would roll better than Connor sometimes. The problem is she uses a ball, so it doesn't quite work.
They must do dog toys shaped like a D20. If not, I'm cashing in on it now. Very much.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
I knew as soon as Matt turned up, Connor would follow.
What are you trying to say?
You know exactly what I'm trying to say.
I have to say, Connor and Ross, you are both looking like you've had a haircut recently.
I had it 2 weeks ago.
That just goes to how long it's been since I've seen you.
It's a wife cut, so Danny cut it for me. So.
Cut your wife?
Nice.
No, she cut my hair.
All right. Connor has had his haircut relatively recently.
Connor once again looks like he's just come from, I don't know, Hugh Hefner's house or something like that.
Pajamas.
The late Hugh Hefner.
Yes.
Playboy
That's
Bunny
right.
Mansion.
Yeah, Playboy Mansion of some sort, yeah.
You don't even want to know what's going on that TV screen behind him.
Well,
Hello, Tim. I assume Connor is closing his jobs off and he's just not listening to us. Possibly.
We'll go with that.
I guess.
Matt has just thrown some celebratory brownies onto our table.
Celebratory.
Nice.
Wait. It's like the brownies on muffins.
Yeah, but that's why it's celebratory, because it's brownies this week. Normally it's muffins.
Ooh, push the boat out, get some
There's no
brownies.
more brownies now because I don't go past Tesco.
Go past Sainsbury's.
Just dive into the co-op.
That's because it's that far away.
Yeah. So he isn't go past it. Anyway. So yes, this
Available.
other supermarkets are indeed available. We just don't have a Waitrose.
I
nearby.
saw a lorry with Safeway on it the other day. Yeah, I'm not lying.
There is
Wow.
still some. There's one in one of the roads.
No, it's not a Safeway.
Is that not
a co-op.
Is it not a Safeway that's along that, just beyond the little Tesco Express at the top of?
Sainsbury's.
That's a cost cutter, isn't it? Or
Oh, is there a cost cutter?
I was going to say, there
Much further along from Sainsbury's.
Safeways. No.
There was only one, and it was the Morrisons that was on.
No, there was also Safeways where Asda and Kingsthorpe, that was a Safeway.
That was a Safeway as well.
this is fascinating content.
Welcome to Supermarket Histories with Eat, Chris and Survive.
Northampton based.
Yeah. Tonight we will be covering.
To share that because that's saw a lorry and I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, that was a cool thing that happened to me this morning. One of the delivery robots that's bundled around the area actually asked me to press the Pelican Crossing button for it.
Oh, that's so cute! I didn't realise it did that.
Yeah, I think it does it if it's been waiting there a while. Otherwise, it's just been passing at the right moment.
Oh,
Now, here's a question: who has right of way in that situation at the zebra crossing?
true. I don't. It'll come. One day the law will change that you have to wait for anything at a zebra crossing, even a little burb.
Well, the highway code did change recently. The hierarchy that pedestrians now, like in France, pedestrians have the right of way.
Pedestrians always have a right of way.
No, but it wasn't officially in the highway code. They changed that this year.
But pedestrians have always had a right of way.
There's Tilly. And there's Matt.
Like always. But robots will be soon.
Can you do
Yeah.
ever so slightly closer?
But
Why?
in this case, it didn't matter because
Don't make me do it.
pressing the button makes a red light for the traffic, and you have to stop at a red light regardless.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Was your microphone not working?
Nothing worked. Steph doesn't like the audio coming out of somewhere, so likes to change everything and surprise me every time I log on.
Keep you on your nose.
You need to buy a housemate so you can
Just have your own.
have your own space. Oh, obviously didn't like that idea.
You just said that you can have an
I've got an open day of viewing on my house tomorrow, so kind of if you want to pop over and have a little viewing, then you can.
Open day. But people just. Oh.
Well, you have to book still, but it's like literally 2 to 6 p.m. So it's,
That's a fair point. What are you doing all day?
Do you leave? Do you stay?
Do you want to come and play? Do you want to come over
yeah,
and
it's
play
not
board
bad
games?
actually. Yeah, I'll suggest that to Danny actually. Yeah.
It might be good to stay because then if anyone comes in with questions.
No, we have to get out of the house. Basically, we're ousted.
It's COVID.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah, and I think the style of the person who sells it as well is just boot you out, so then you're not like hovering over people's shoulders when they're looking around the house. So
Buy it.
yeah,
Buy my
I won't
house.
let you leave until you put a deposit down.
Yeah.
While you're here, would you like to play a board game?
yes, yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a board game. If I win,
It's a selling point of the house. There's a board game cupboard.
yeah. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a board game. If I win, you're going to add 50 grand on your offer.
I wish.
If you win, then we'll knock 50 off. Choose the board game. What do you mean you want to play Settlers of Catan? Get out.
Munchkin.
I'll play Munchkin.
I saw my copy of Munchkin eventually. I posted off to someone in Oxford.
Nice.
How long did that take you?
He's trying to get rid of it for like 3 years.
Well, yeah. Once I put it, actually, like, try to sell it, then
Yeah.
about 2 weeks, I think it took. So,
We're doing that. We'll probably do that on the games that we play through and we go, don't really want to keep this anymore, so we'll just try and sell them or do maths trades or something.
Oh, we did play some this week. Oh, good. We're still on count.
Yeah, we played 2 on Tuesday. We're fine. Or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Monday. We played on a day.
Monday, Tuesday.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
We're all here.
I think we should.
So happy.
I think we should get on with this and move into tonight's episode.
End it!
So, where we left off last time, the Wandering Stars had travelled to the Astral Sea and had come across a quite large individual dragon and its rider, who had been contained within the Astral Sea as a result of god interference of Bahamut and the other Drasmak, preventing these crystal dragons from going insane. These individuals were Angst and Quello, the leaders of the cult of Void. You had a conversation with them and managed to agree that a stay of execution, that if the gods could, remove Angst and Quello from their demi-plane that they're in and create a whole new dimension, or go off somewhere, separate the material plane from all others, then the war would be over.
Yay.
You took
Sorry,
this.
just not
Is there a dog licking water?
There
There
is.
Oh, you haven't seen Tilly before, have you, Ross? No,
It's-
personally.
No. It's also about as loud as you are, I think, is probably the way to put it on the audio.
She's really
So,
terrible. She does now.
She should be fine for like the next 3 hours. So
She really likes that.
I think I felt like it just deserved an explanation why there was gulping / licking sounds coming from your house.
It was me.
They hadn't fed Matt for a while.
Matt and Connor have sent some raunchy text messages to each other.
Yeah.
But having had this discussion and raised it to the gods by teleporting onto Olympus, you spoke to Zeus and the council of the Olympians, and they agreed to channel their power through. Oh, is she in a playful mood?
I just picked up ball
I'm
and
putting
thrown
it
it.
away because otherwise she'll stop off.
She will.
Just in the immersion, just put her in the garden.
No!
No, it's like -1.
Have you? There you go.
You put the gods, and they arrange this. Odin, having to be a bit of a dick about it, as Zeus summons him to come and have a chat about it and figure out what the best thing to do was. But you eventually managed to transport the energy of the 8 visionaries and the elemental planes and transport them to 8 different locations. There was a. I'm just going to watch the stream just to see Tilly just hop up. There she is.
Hey.
Tea and dog.
Dungeons and Doggos.
Just wait for it. There it is.
Fight just at this moment.
It was the first hop, and then you summon her up, and she goes, Anyway, with the energies coalesced into a single point, which is the bag that you've been carrying around that contained Angst and Quello, and the visionaries all sucked within, as well as their forces, Kelatar looked into the birth of a new universe.
I love how we just carried these guys around with us this entire time.
Yeah, I know, right? And it burnt off his eyebrows, his hair, and his eyes. So that happened.
Now he's going to get a dog.
Getting a guide dragon.
He's getting an eye-seeing dog.
Please, not that one.
Oh, no. got to be a guide beholder. I can always see where it's going.
And having had the energies of the gods and all this power coalesce into a single point, you are thrust back into the material plane. And that is where we pick up. So.
Oh, God.
Normally she calms down.
No.
I don't feel like
Today she knows that she's not going to get any attention.
No.
you gave her Mr. Broccoli. I don't know why.
Because you wanted that little squeaky red ball. What would you rather?
Dear. Anyway, right. So you find yourselves within the cold air that surrounded you when you were on the top of Maymore, the city that is no longer protected by the overall dome that protected from the elements. As you're looking around, the ash and smoke that you can smell and taste, as well as see, those of you that can see, is lifting. The fires are burning out, and the winds are putting these fires to end. As you look about, you can see no astral sea above you. You can't see the dark lights and the pinpricks above, but you can, those of you that can see.
You're going to keep making me say that.
You keep doing it.
Yes, I know.
Just gonna. There we go. Solve that.
I mean, I wouldn't blame you.
Back. That the sky has returned to its usual blue hues for being as high in the cloud as you are. You're above the cloud level. So, what do you want to do?
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I changed up my answer. What would you like to do?
We're on top of a mountain.
Yes, in a city on top of a mountain.
The sky is back to normal. That has to be good.
I
Yes.
thought we had been sent back to the tent from the command, but I obviously remembered wrong.
I may have got my continuity model.
In which case, most recent ruling stands, so we are in the system.
No, you're right. You were speaking to Duranalis, whose last words were, "What have you done?" I've just remembered that. So ignore what I just said.
God, Luke.
But you are
I
back.
think we should go to the command tent and see Dren.
Luke, you did so well, and then the very last session of the campaign, you just balls the whole thing up. It's ruined now. But
It must-
Goodbye, everyone. New DM next. New DM next campaign. Connor has volunteered to DM the next campaign.
So, Dragon disagrees with everything that you said. Roll for initiative.
Connor, I don't know whether Connor has looked at the stats for that dragon, but
No, but I still want to fight it.
maybe a potential one shot
One
down
shot,
the
let's do
line.
it.
And I have
Anyway.
a sight back.
Yes,
For that,
it'll be like a Marvel,
A what if.
a what if in Marvel, like what if they
So,
just
we had
fought
to
the
decide.
dragon?
Apart from the location, you're in the tent, so everything else still stands. So there still is the fires of combat that have happened nearby. There is still the smell of blood and iron in the air. The sky is now a clearer blue, despite it being previously infected by the astral sea.
With less of a feeling of impending doom.
Somewhat, yes. There is also the ice is melting away. The ice that had protruded from the lower reaches of Maymore that were protruding out of the rift to the fifth layer of hell. It's just melting and retreating, so it's being sucked back in.
Like it's going backwards.
Yes.
Okay.
As the last vestiges of the planar energy is being drawn away, which you, in particular, Lyra, are very attuned to. So, with Duranalis, the only individual in the tent of the leaders, he looks at you all and goes, "What have you done?"
Oh no. Oh no. What's
Well,
happening?
I looked at something that I shouldn't have looked at.
I'm over here. Turn around.
Now I can't see.
We'll get someone to have a look at that for you.
Oh no.
That was Cedric.
I'm just going to sit still.
Good idea. Can I have a more comprehensive explanation of what happens?
Diplomatic negotiations took place without all of you.
And somehow
faced-
it worked.
Yes, we were faced with the choice of either trying to fight the power behind the forces beyond, which seemed a bad idea, or to attempt to negotiate some kind of settlement. To skip to the essentials, the gods were able to help us channel the power of the visionaries into a demi-plane where Quello and Angst, the ones behind the voices beyond, resided, effectively giving them a new realm to inhabit and shape and possibly rule over, in return for which they agreed to cease their efforts to mess this realm up.
Jonah sits back and looks at each of you, resting his eyes at Liralair at the end. This is far beyond anything that I could have imagined. From our position on the ground, there is no more fighting. There are no more forces to fight. But those from Valhalla have gone.
Anyone who was from a different plane of existence has been returned to their home plane. So all the armies of the elementals that we had brought, the army of fiends, the dragons, and the Githyanki, and even Chieftain Rambeg and the Einhaja have all been returned to where they came from. They're not dead. They haven't been harmed as far as we know. They've merely been returned to where they came from.
Well, that's good. I shall have to speak with Rambeg to find out what has transpired and if they will meet us back at your thing. But from what you're telling me, the war is over.
Yes.
Yes.
There will probably be some very major changes in the nature of magic which need to be understood before anything too terrible happens.
No, of course. And he just stops for a second, just lifts his hand up. Looks, he's listening. One at a time.
I didn't say anything.
Whilst this is happening, I'm going to cast Heal on Kalatar to see if I can get rid of that blindness.
Okay, you cast Heal upon Kalatar. It does not restore his sight.
Oh,
What's
okay.
Heal? Is that like basically?
But you do gain 70 hit points.
Yeah, I hadn't lost any, to be honest.
What to say? No.
Okay. Yeah, it does. Heal does 70 hit points and does end blindness, deafness, and any diseases. But obviously, it's more damaging. Again,
Duration, maybe?
It's not magic.
yes, potentially.
Stupid blindness.
Yeah, you stared into the sun for a few seconds and it just went, no.
You stared into the sun at point blank range while the sun was exploding.
I mean, frankly, had this, if anything else other than this had happened, I'd be disappointed.
That's fair.
Journalist looks back at you and refocuses and says, I've got reports from my troops out and about. They are tending to the civilians and assisting the Maemorians with rebuilding the city, or at least clearing it, making sure everything is as expected. They're going to report back to me shortly. I'm going to go and speak with King Weisel afterwards. I also heard from Ranveig. They are back in Valhalla, but they're stuck there.
Oh, but you can still contact them?
The magic that spends across the plains to get their words across seems to still work, but they're not able to travel.
Hmm.
At least not easily.
That may be one of the effects of the solution that's occurred.
Wow. Tyrannus reaches behind him and picks up his war helm and says, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I apparently need to go and speak with King Weisel, as I'm the only commander left, and I would appreciate it if you all assisted with taking care of the civilians and any other work that might need to be done, if that's all right.
Certainly.
Of course. Where should we go first? Who needs our help the most?
Well, we're going into the Undercity's probably had the worst of it. That's where the most of the fighting was. So if any civilians in the crossfire, go there, look after them.
Okay,
Sure.
let's go. Kalazar, follow me.
I'll use one of my extra arms to help lead Kalasar.
Okay. The group of you head off and make your way to the Undercity Lost. Tyrannus just vanishes from the spot and heads off somewhere.
Where'd he go?
For the next 3 or 4 days, you spend time with the civilians and the general populace, rebuilding and helping people that have been injured and displaced throughout the conflicts. Those who had been damaged and wounded throughout the battle, Cedric and Leela, Asher, and Liralair to a certain extent, and Kalatar. Although actually, a lot of your spells require sight, don't they?
Probably.
Oh
I
no! Does it still count if he technically has eyes but just can't see?
no.
No, because they'll say a point in space which you can see.
Yeah, or a creature that you can see.
Dude, you're buggered.
Let's see.
Which was what I did in the campaign.
I think even Healing Word is a creature that can see, that you can
Yes.
see and can hear you.
So I'm going to become the most traditional of all bards and do nothing but talk.
Yeah.
Stop of rest. You could just stop of rest.
Everyone has a short rest and you just sit there strumming away. Kalasar goes about doing the important business of building morale with your seeing eye drone that leads you
Yes.
Yeah.
through the city.
Journey!
Just strap a harness onto it around your chest and it just leads.
Sleep in front.
Oh, that's good. Obviously, Leela is there as well, so it does help.
Magic can see. You could scry.
No, because it's connected to you.
But he could learn to scry.
Don't think it's on the bard list.
Yeah, give him the book, you can read about it.
Scry.
But you are taking care of
You can't use spell scrolls.
taking care of the sick and the wounded, and with some of the unfortunate casualties of war, Cedric, you do help with the leading of the burials and putting the spirits to rest. As a cleric of the Raven Queen that you are.
Yes.
After the 4th afternoon of clearing up, there is a message sent for the group of you from Tyrannus and King Weisel, who are requesting your presence as an audience.
Let's go.
Alright. You are taken up through the surprisingly undamaged cable car system that they do have here. It's like those funicular railways that you can, you find them in alpine regions and mountainous regions. It basically just goes like that. One carriage goes up, the other one comes down. You make it to the top, and the barrier has been fully restored around the upper city as you walk through the stone giants or the cloud giants' former residence. You know that it is actually surprisingly warm up here, which it really should not be based on the altitude.
Warm.
You can see that there is significant damage that has been dealt here, but because the size of the houses comparative to the size of the population is so small, or is relatively large, it almost doesn't matter so much. But people are still looking for belongings and family members and friends that they have lost. When you reach the castle, you present the writ to the guards, and they wave you in and lead you through a still alabaster, beautiful alabaster castle, where Gerenolus and Weisel meet you. They are sat with two thrones sat side by side, as is the correct custom, although the host of this particular area is significantly nicer than the one that is for the visiting monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Weisel is a pale and slender humanoid, almost you'd say gangly in his physicality. But you can see from looking at him in particular, he does seem like he's got the physique of he's almost like he's a physique of a dancer, but his limbs are just a little bit longer than you would kind of expect. So he's quite a tall gentleman with a close cropped beard and small spectacles that rest upon him over his nose. As he and Gerenolus are there, you step through, and Gerenolus acknowledges you and says, "Welcome, Wandering Stars." Why?
Because I'm a child.
Welcome, Wandering Stars. This is His Majesty King Weisel. He is, the ruler of Fiaros, he and his family. I have told him about what you have done and the aid in which you have given this country over the last month and a half now. I really can't keep track of how long it's been since you started doing this.
Seems like only yesterday.
Seems like
It's
Only 3 years ago.
it's been complicated for us to keep track of, especially as we've been to the Feywild more than once.
84.
And people were dead for a year.
There is that. Well, we wanted to express our thanks for everything that you have done. And this Weisel says, yes, we are grateful for your assistance and, for lack of a better word, interference on our behalf to speak with the... I don't mean disrespect when I say interference. I mean literally obstruct. You know what I mean.
what we do best.
I'm sure. We do greatly appreciate what you have done, and we wish to reward you. This continent that would have been destroyed had it not been for your intervention. So if there is anything that I am able to grant you, then please let it be known. Individually or as a group, I can do either. Obviously, bear in mind I have to divert some funds to rebuilding my kingdom.
I would like to assist in rebuilding. We've asked a lot of the gods, even if it benefited them, and it seems both fitting and sensible to give something back. I think mine would be pleased if I were to assist in restoring cities.
Very well. That can easily be arranged. We are sending out some of the royal builders to some of the more devastated civilizations. Nexus, Solrisa. Any of those would be South Peak, even. Any of those that you would wish to go and assist with, you may have leave to do so.
Thank you.
My only real wish, I think, is what you're already doing, which is use your influence and money to help rebuild and help those in need.
Of course, it is a long-term project, although from speaking to King Gerenalis here, it sounds like he has at least had some experience of rebuilding some of his own civilization, and we are welcoming of his ideas and inputs and aid that is being lent to us at this time as part of it. Some of his mages are staying behind, some of his soldiers are staying behind to assist with everything. I believe there are a certain number of refugees that are scattered around in various towns and cities that will need rehoming and before too long. But we will get to them. I promise you. But there is nothing I can give you.
No, I personally won't be here for very long, so not quite one for, needing anything.
What do you mean?
Well, from all accounts, this war is over, so I should be dead.
Wow.
Likewise.
In battle, certain deals are made, and they cannot be broken. Isn't that right, Cedric?
So we were told repeatedly.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's taken them this long to reclaim what is rightfully theirs.
Well, I don't know who these deals you've made were with, but if they haven't claimed your lives yet, then they might be feeling generous, or they might just not know where to find you.
I'm sure once they're back up on their feet.
Yes.
Been quite a week for them.
I believe that these deals were made with certain deities, so I think they know where they are.
Ah.
Odin and the Raven Queen will be collecting Cedric and I at some point. So, maybe,
Asher pops down dead.
Maybe right now.
I'm waiting for it. Any moment now.
You feel a tingling.
I feel it. No,
No.
any minute now.
Leave me.
I just don't want to go.
Please take me!
Wiseall looks at the guards in the rooms and waves them off for a second. They step. I just look curiously, but they acquiesce and they step out of the room and close the doors behind them. I say this with great secrecy, but I suspect it will become common knowledge before too long. It seems that the god's influence has waned from this world.
What? But they're on a mountain.
I think that would imply that we might have a little bit longer, but not forever still.
It has forever.
The gods of Olympus reside upon Mount Olympus, which is not technically tethered to any part of the material plane. There are some who theorize that it is in the mountains that go above the dwarven cities, but it is not confirmed. It seems whatever you did has severed
The
connection.
gods as well?
At the very least, it seems that it has put a barrier around our plane to prevent outside influence. including the gods.
They're not going to be happy about that.
They're not the only ones.
No. I don't think anybody's probably too happy that they can't get to other places.
Considering the alternative was the destruction of everything, I think they will learn to live with it.
We are, journalists, we're in contact with some of the high mages that are back in Alfheim and some of the mages over the Ark to see if we can come up with any ways through the barriers. It's going to be long research, but we should be able to come up with some form of transportation that might be able to take us to different planes.
Maybe we just don't need the gods.
Smite.
I'm just saying.
Well, I certainly don't. I'm an arcane caster at the very least, and as some of you are, the rest of you are divine casters. We're yet to see how divine magics are to be impacted, whether the energies that flow are a finite resource or whether they will continue. We don't know.
Me and Athena never got our girls' night.
Yes. Well, yes. If there is anything else that you need whilst you're staying here, please let me know and I will do my best to accommodate you.
I mean, if there's a way that you can make me see again.
How did you lose your eyesight?
Go on, tell him.
Do you know how I got these scars?
I saw the most beautiful sight known in the history of all beings, the birth of a new world. Unfortunately, I looked at it for about 4 seconds longer than I should have done.
At all.
We will consult with some of the high clerics and see if there is anything that can be done.
Just so you're aware, I tried to heal it and it didn't work.
I will make a note of that. Then,
Other than that, no.
all right, we can have assistants come round with you to a squire or something that can help you in your day-to-day doings.
You get a servant. You get a manservant. A seeing eye manservant.
Who can help assist me in my
Yes,
doings.
yes.
Very personal gooseberry.
A little bit to the left, sir. There you go. I'll turn around now, sir.
I don't know.
That amused me.
Well done.
It amused me and Dom as well.
Anyway, unless there is anything else you wish to speak to the kings about, you are...
I have a request, sire.
Yes.
I have been tasked with re-establishing the Orionids Guild across the Earth. I am planning to make a start with a new guild house in the Grove. I don't know if any assistance could be made in the building of guild houses as they're needed, rather than straightway. Obviously, that's not an important thing right now, but not a priority. But
We can certainly raise his hand, says we can certainly look to supply the Grove with an architect and a builder to at least make a start on the guild hall. They can use that around the other parts of its Orion. if there's nothing else, then we have other things we must discuss. But thank you for coming and for what you've done. We will make sure that the bards sing many songs of your names. Thank you. In the weeks that follow, is there anything that you wish to do in the short term? Over the next year or so, as the cities and towns are rebuilt.
I will say in the short term, I'd like to try and find Fee.
Kafina is in. No.
Whoa!
Kafina has actually. It takes you after going to the Grove and spending a little bit of time there, just sort of scoping out where would be good for the guild hall and setting up. Speaking with the local government to arrange for such a thing for people who might be coming to seek the guild to come to. You do return to Ms. Jamal, and you do find Kafina is there working, but also a couple of months pregnant.
How long's it been?
Oh, about a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She flew past and went, fuck it, literally.
Well, it's been just over a couple of months.
Yeah.
It equates quite nicely to that time that peacocks seem to be appearing.
Oh,
Oh, God.
That one god in
Indeed.
particular.
Yeah.
life is going to be interesting for her.
But she sees you coming and says, "Oh, hi." And puts down the tools that she's been working with.
Hi, Fee, how you doing? Whoa! Oh, it's 2 months pregnant. She won't show in.
Yeah, she's a very slight frame, and she's wearing sort of like an apron that's bulged out a little bit.
Hi, Fee, how you doing? You look like you have been eating a lot. How are you? I hope you managed to find your way home after we last saw you. What are you working on?
I'm just
Baby.
well, not eating as much as I should. I'm eating less sweet things.
Why? Sweet things are great.
They
I
are,
love cake.
but I need to be careful, for
For your tummy. No, some foods don't go really very well with your tummy. You should avoid those. But sweet things are great.
Oh, so I'm working on
Yes!
this. I'm trying to work on this automaton thing. It's not quite working. I'm kind of getting lessons from your grandpa,
Really?
Grandpa Wolf. He's shown me how to make them. I don't
He
know.
is really good at that. Well, if Grandma Wolf is helping you, then you'll get it working in no time. I mean, if you need any help at all, then obviously let me know. We'll be here for a little while. Yes, so it looks very interesting. I'll kind of hang around and have a look.
Yeah, it does look like it's quite intricate. What the system that she's making, it looks like it is it's on, but it doesn't have its legs yet. So it's just sort of the upper torso and the arms. But it looks like the articulators and the various joints are made to move in a very particular way.
Oh, robot nanny!
Effectively, yeah.
Does it speak?
Cute.
It does not
Oh.
yet.
Yeah.
Does not yet. It hasn't quite gotten to that point.
Oh, well, yeah, Leela will probably come up with loads of ideas and what she can do things. Yeah, I won't go into them now because loads have just come into my head.
You think on them. Is there anything else that is wanted to be done in the short term?
I mean, I would like to have gone kind of home very shortly after we'd kind of settled things, just to go home and just check that everything's okay.
Yeah, the burning fire, the main thing that you notice when you return to Miss Tumal,
It's no fire.
it's not on fire anymore.
Wow.
All of the fire has been replaced with water, but there are, as you walked down following the canal that leads to the waterfall and to the Tasto Falls, that the land is still scorched. It looks like that's going to take quite a long time to recover, but it does seem to be freshening up at least. There is not, there are new tributaries that are now forming as a result of the water that's still flowing because the ground is so parched and dry. It's just flowing through different channels. But it does seem to be on its way to making some sort of recovery. And there are those who are casting druidic magics that from various locales that are trying to encourage the growth of what natural resources again.
Yes.
But Grandpa Wolf has taken over formally as the leader of the Contrivance Union. He is the only main leader there, so he doesn't expect to be in post for very long until he has brought up a couple of lieutenants and such that can take over for him when he chooses to retire. Your father and your mother are assisting with this. They are all well, they're all safe. And the blimp is still there,
I
still being repaired.
will work with that.
Later.
I'm coming back.
You should have whispered it.
I'm coming back.
I'd like to check whether Ulrion is still around.
Gundamir!
Comes going to be in a moment. Ulrion, last you saw of Ulrion, he was in Alfheim, wasn't he?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was.
He'd gone to Mr. Mal, I believe.
Had he gone to Mr. Mark? Was he working with the slave army and going with them?
I think he went that way.
I honestly can't remember. It's terrible. I've lost track of my brother.
Last I remember you speaking to him, he was in Alfheim, but he may have come. I think he did come across the sea with the Alfheim army. Your paths, you don't cross paths particularly often in sort of those early few weeks. You do see each other as you're going about your days and doing things. He is well. He has been wounded, but he is well.
He is still on this plane.
He is.
Right. Interesting.
For whatever reason, you don't know why. You don't have the time really to talk to him about that. You get the sense that that is going to be a much longer conversation that you'll have to have at a later point. Gundamir, when you go to the Grove, Gundamir is still there.
Oh,
Yay!
It seems that whatever magic had bound him to the ring that he had come from before, when that was released, it anchored him to a new place, and that new place was the Grove. So Gundamir is now one of the only elemental beings that is on the material plane.
Oh, he's not sad.
He's a rare Pokemon. Quick, put him back in the box.
Gundamir is actually
I choose you!
Gundamir is actually quite happy. Gundamir is looking forward to having the opportunity to work with the guild, and he does actually sign up to not be a active member to go off and hunt people, but to be part of the support staff that is within
Good.
the Brotherhood of the Orionids.
Good.
Never be short of a donut.
Exactly, he is going to be.
Did he get his armor?
Yeah, Cedric grew it back for him a long time ago.
I can't remember these things.
Oh,
good, I'm glad.
Family,
Long time in real time, not in game time.
yeah. Family, you are free to go to whichever of the major cities you wish to go to help rebuild.
probably starting off with Solvis as the one that was flooded seems like quite a good fit for me.
Okay, so you go up to Solrisa, and some of the buildings, a lot of the newer buildings still have at least some of their foundations still in place, despite the fact because the wave crashed over so rapidly and it just built and built and built and built and built. It just compressed it, meaning there was not much disruption. Some of the outer buildings as well do also seem to have taken lesser because the water has just sort of passed over them and then receded back. But there is still quite a lot of devastation there. One of the main problems is that the land itself is completely sodden, which is not surprising, which makes it incredibly difficult to build upon. So instead of rebuilding Sol Risa, they leave it and they take it a couple of miles south and rebuild. Just following the coastline around.
Fair enough.
But they start afresh and build new Sol Risa.
New stories like New York.
Please tell me they're calling it New Sol Risa.
They do call it new Sol Risa. And they leave the old one as a reminder of what the gods have done for them. In particular, the damaged temple to Apollo remains as a monument for those of the work that the god had done, and also as a reminder of what has been lost.
As in, like to say, this is a good thing the God's done, or a bad thing the God's done.
The gods it was as in they look at it as the gods saved us eventually.
Right.
Because it was their power that then drew everything back away. It's a miracle that they are still alive, despite the fact that so many had died in the interim.
Yeah, with my experience of sort of carving the runes on the diamonds, I can probably like carve a plaque with the story and leave it as part of the memorial.
Yeah, it takes you a little bit of time, and some of the clerics of Apollo are a little bit quizzical about it, and then they acquiesce and let you continue with it to write the story on the outside of the stone, and particularly in an area that is then kept clean and gilded after you've finished, so that it will never fade from memory. Teletar, is there anything that you do in the short term?
Trip over things.
Acquire a white stick.
With a ball on the end?
You are
ball,
given a squire. It does come across to you. His name is Jeremy.
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 No, he's not Jeremy. He's just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy. No, just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy. He is willing and able to assist you in all your various goings on, whatever you need to do. He is happy to take you. You get the sense he's being paid very well by the crown.
Cool.
So doesn't really matter for him.
Cool.
He's not. He has discretion. So he is. If you are in that mood of Kelatar's that he used to be in, then he does step aside and sort of go, this is the quarters. Here's the lady or the gentleman. I will see you later.
He's your wingman.
Only when asked to be, but very, very rarely does he need to be.
I don't think he's technically wingman. I think he's kind of. There you go.
Man.
Yeah, but you're at least going to ask him what they look like.
It doesn't matter, he can't see them.
It doesn't matter to Kelatar. Even when he could see, it didn't really matter. I think, to be honest, he'd probably just go around just talking to and listening to survivors. And just hearing their stories.
Staying local or going to the refugees in Grove and touring around?
Starting off local, but then moving to moving around, just to kind of hear the tales of what people have gone through.
Okay, and it is a very fruitful story that you get vivid images that people send you, and those there are some that you come across that are psychically trained and they are able to show you what happened.
Well,
and that gives you a richness and a vividity to your stories that you're able to tell.
Yeah.
See?
Cedric, what do you do?
That's a great question. In the short term,
Yes.
Doesn't really have much of a short-term plan, mostly because he thought he'd be dead by this point.
Yeah.
I think probably just be, obviously he's got a lot of healing potential, so he's going to really be around helping with any survivors, particularly in that short first few weeks.
Yep.
So kind of wherever in the world has been hit hardest in terms of casualties rather than structural damage. will probably be where he'll be heading to help people out, and a little bit as well to where there have actually been full-on casualties and people have literally died. Then being there to make sure that people get the burial or whatever that they want.
Okay. In the early stages of that, you are predominantly focused in Maymore, because that's where a lot of the fighting took place. And there are a lot of wounded soldiers and a lot of dead that are to be buried out in what does become a bit of a mass grave outside of the city. But that in itself does become a memorial after a while. And you do preside over quite a touching ceremony where you say goodbye to all of the soldiers who fought on your side. Both those from Maymore are the ones that are chosen to be here, whereas the ones from Alfheim are transported out. The mages do open portals that take them back to Alfheim to be buried there. The next worst hit places will be South Peak, Solrisa, and probably Nexus as well. So you spend a fair bit of time going there. Nexus is an interesting one because a lot of the buildings haven't been destroyed, but they have become overgrown. The wildlife and the impact from the Feywild does not seem to have rescinded quite as much as some of the other places have had that obvious transformation. There are quite a few people who have now moved in there and have moved back into homes and have cleared out some of the areas, and you are able to assist with that to some degree, which is. It's quite remarkable how this city has now succumbed to nature, given how bustling it once was when you travelled.
The tree's still there.
The giant tree is still there.
Oh, that looks like fun.
One other thing I want to do while I'm kind of jumping around is, if I can, find Nuala.
Nuala is in Alfheim.
So, if at all possible, on my kind of popping around, would be to go to see her.
Okay, you can go to see her. It's maybe 6 months or so after the conflict. Yeah. When you finally gotten to a point where you can relax and you don't feel like you have to be the doctor, quite so immediately.
Yes.
But you manage to get yourself up to Alfheim, whether it's magically or otherwise. It's not hugely relevant. But you find Nuala's home, and she is there with her now 5-year-old son. He was about 4 when you last saw her, so...
I will...
I think it was about 4, was he? 3?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was 3. I felt like...
Might be 3.
He's
that age.
It's been very timey-wimey, so...
He's a young one.
Yeah.
Youngling.
Yeah. Yes, Cedric.
Hello. It's good to see you. I hope you are okay.
I am well. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to see you. Do you want to come in?
I mean, I can. I didn't want to intrude too much, but I did want to intrude enough.
Let's have some tea. Oh, we've lost Tom. Oh, there he is. Let's make some tea. And she steps into her kitchen and sets up tea boiling. Whilst it's brewing, you sort of look around and you can see that there is the pictures of her and Frode over the last month or so, and you do also notice that there is a rather large stuffed bear ear, or stuffed moose.
Moose.
Moose. A moose. Stuffed moose ear that is on the side somewhere, just sort of in sight, but you're not quite sure why. But you do kind of recognise the giant moose.
Okay. I was more or less in the area, and I know I'm not very good with the
Subtleties.
relationship thing.
Sugar?
Yes, please. And I think that maybe you and Asha need to have a conversation.
Milk?
Also, yes, please.
Put sugar in before the milk.
Helps it dissolve better.
Oh, okay.
She placed the tea before you. And sits
I like
down.
that. That's the thing you think is awkward about this situation.
Hey, if you
Can't believe she puts the sugar in first. Dirty bitch.
So it's the real reason why Asha left her.
Make shit tea. Outlive with someone who puts the milk in first. Sorry. I don't care if the world's at
Cedric
stake.
takes a sip and just.
As a child.
Oh no. I dread what next campaign's going to be like when it's not quite so serious.
Hey. That's when we'll take it really serious.
It's just slapstick comedy.
She sits down opposite you. Did Asha tell you why we ceased our relationship?
No.
She said some things that I don't want to repeat. Because if I repeat them in earshot of my son, then I will probably start swearing. I'll have to teach him what those words are.
Mm.
But what she said hurt me. She told me that she didn't love me, that she didn't care for me, that she was using me. And
I think
I feel bad about what happened afterwards with Kalatar.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't that great. It wasn't worth it, frankly. But
The breakfast. Yes, I remember.
Yes.
but
Why'd you kick a man when he's down?
he's not there. He's fine.
Yeah, it's true. Lost his eyes. God.
Lost his mojo.
Oh.
Lucky he kept his head.
He was like,
It's true.
and quite frankly, it's a part of my life that I would sooner forget.
Just as a thought, I think actually the worst thing she did to you at that time
Biscuit
was lie to you.
puts the tray of biscuits down.
Because I would imagine everything she had said was a lie. The fact that I'm still stood here talking to you is a bit of a miracle. And I think Asha was trying to save you some pain and probably selfishly herself some pain.
Roll a persuasion check.
Oh yeah, that's gonna go great.
First roll of the night.
Cedric, known for his charismatic properties.
Here we go.
No, roll low. It would be on point.
I mean, it's 19, but it's 20 minus 1, so I critted.
It was a natural 20.
Yes.
You were as persuasive as you could be.
She rubs her eyes for a moment and look, Cedric, it's been 6-7 months since I last saw Asha. If that was the case, I know the war ended about 6 months ago. Why did she not come and tell me this herself?
That's something only Asha could answer. but I would consider that maybe she thinks that at any point her life could still be taken.
You keep saying that your life should have ended by now and hers should have ended. What do you mean?
So I will try to keep the story short.
There was this big shot.
Asher died. I made a deal to get Asher back, but as part of that deal, once everything was done, we would both then forfeit our souls. Everything has been done, but our souls are. I'm still stood here. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you need to right now. I'm just saying consider it.
Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon.
I will think on what you said, Cedric. I will. I don't know, though. I can't say whether I could trust someone who would do that to me and not tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heart.
I think
You're punchy tonight.
Yeah.
Asher might surprise me, but I think it will be down to you. She's too stubborn.
Don't I know it? Well, enough about unpleasant things. How are you, Cedric?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Most of my family's dead. I could die at any moment, but the world's still here, so that's pretty nice.
Have you been to see your sister lately?
Not yet. That's my next stop.
Be good to see her, I think. And your nephew. You continue the conversation. It's a little frosty, and it's full small talk while you finish the tea.
Yeah.
Just one gulp. Okay then.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I've got to go now.
And you head off and you go and see your sister.
Yeah, so I was going to do that as a longer term thing. I didn't
That's
know whether
fine.
we were doing the longer term things.
We'll come to that shortly. But Asher, what have you done in the short term?
I have returned. I have returned back to our nice keep.
I was going to just say, I can't wait for Ash to be like, first day I go see Nuala, and it just undoes everything we've just
Yeah.
Last 15 minutes, gone.
Yeah.
Okay, you head to Nebula Keep.
I kick everyone out.
Okay.
Which keep is this?
The Keep in Alfheim.
Oh, a big special one.
Which does take Asher a little while to get there because you do have to travel by boat to get up there. So it does take you about a month.
I travel there. I kick everyone out. I shut the door.
Yep.
Lock it.
Yep.
And do nothing but drink alcohol and eat.
For how long?
4 or 5 months.
Good. God.
Okay. In your drunken state, do you at any point lash out violently with Shatterfang to at least keep yourself relatively in shape, or would you just
Nope.
let yourself go?
It's like
full on Thor, like
yeah, pretty much.
Apple.
Like the Shatterfang is like hot.
Gathers dust.
In a mop bucket somewhere, like I've used it at some point to do something completely non-functional.
There's a bottle opener.
Yeah, it's just there as like a open stuff.
Yeah.
Occasionally do that. I eat, drink, and it's just on a consistent supply.
In that keep it is.
Yeah, and then like I've got just one special unseen servant
Mhm.
that I just kind of sit there too, and it just holds a beer. And they're like, I loved it, had everything I possibly could have ever wanted, and just talking to something that doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
But has to do as it's told. So
Yeah. I imagine you've put a hat on it just so you know where its head is.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that pretty much sums it up.
After about 5 months of this, on his way to visiting his sister, or on the way back, Cedric does stop into the keep, finding the doors shut and no one in it. But the city that was there, the port town beforehand, has started to be rebuilt. Van Falda. That was it. That was the name. Rummaging around in my brain to try and find it.
No help.
Nope. Didn't look at my notes. Just had to remember it.
Okay.
It has been rebuilt in that time. Surprisingly, not having a house does give you motivation to build a house.
Funny that.
Especially when you kick them out of the big keep that's got all the food in.
Aw.
Yeah.
They have a lot of help from the dwarfs and others from around Yorvik.
I've helped enough.
Yeah. But
I've done my bit.
Cedric, as you walk in, you see
Move all the pizza boxes.
yeah, you see
If you open that door, there is just a collection.
I imagine it's just a waft of just stench as well.
yeah, it kind of is. Because as you walk in, you can see that Asher is there in one of the dressing gowns that fit her 6 months ago, and now is quite tight to clothes. But it is, rather stretched because of all the
Bursting at the seams. Like that.
kind of, it is quite stretched. Normally it's stretched from her muscles. Now, less so. Shatterfang is, as you say, gathering dust. The armor, the chest plate of the armor has been used as a fruit bowl. Hey,
Fruit.
cheese bowl.
Chris, snacks bowl.
Snacks bowl. The helmet has also been used just as a big snack tin, and it does look like it's got several different alcohols that have been left in it overnight and then have still been drunk.
It's just an ice bucket.
No, it's not even an ice bucket. It's been people have drunk out of that helmet, which is impressive because it has got holes in it.
The boots.
Shoey.
Doing our shoey.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a pleasant set, and you see Asher there just
In the sun. Just
Like a big cat.
yeah.
Hello, Asher.
Cedric!
Hi. I like what you've done with the place.
Well, I'm just letting go. Finally getting to relax and enjoy it. Been a couple of weeks since this all finished, so just kicking back.
Do you know how else you could be enjoying your time?
Thought about maybe, I don't know, starting a fishing job or something on the sea. Sounds nice.
That does sound very nice. There is also the possibility of catching up with some old friends.
Well, I mean, Lirala's busy building her guild. Kilatar's blind.
Maybe some closer friends.
You probably see she's avidly avoiding.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got all the friends I need. They're all here. They drink and eat with them every night.
I imagine I'm looking around, and if I could see the unseen servants, they would be rolling their eyes.
Get the sense that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You see one with a hat and a scarf I've chosen.
You're my friend now.
So that's
Got one gauntlet
that's
on.
scarfy.
One gauntlet on from my armor set.
I'm just saying that we've been given a second opportunity. In fact, we've been given probably the 7th opportunity, and maybe you could give something else another try. Maybe you could have a conversation with Nuala and probably apologize.
I have nothing to apologize for. What I did was right, and I stand by that. And I'm sure she, too, is very happy with the current situations of being alive. Isn't being alive wonderful, Cedric?
It's nice, but it's nice.
It's just the be-all and end-all.
It's just nice to be able to spend it with some people that you love.
I mean, love's just a little bit. When you're as old as I am, Cedric, love is not everything. Like, I've nearly tried every ale in Alfheim. Nearly. 472 different types.
And how many of those do you like?
None.
So
I'm thinking about moving on to wine next.
So if you found one that you did like, maybe you should not insult that and then never go near it again.
I feel like you're trying to guide something here. And if we're going to continue down this road, Cedric, I think you should have a beer. I just walk off into the kitchen. I've got so many other different ones.
I will stay and drink, but only if you promise to speak to Nuala. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave you here in your misery for a little bit longer.
At some point, I will speak to Nuala. At some point.
You know what? I'll take it. Let's have something to drink.
Good enough.
Although, over the next 24 hours...
This is a work event.
Over the next 24 hours, Ashley and Cedric go through the most extreme bender that the two of them have ever had.
Yeah. If Gods weren't going to kill us, alcohol poisoning is.
I've been trying for so long.
It's all that constitution you've got, Asher.
It's
and Cedric
so unhelpful at this period of time.
Cedric, you're just being your liver has just been healed by the earth by the time watch your feet on the ground. It's two people that could not get deader from drinking too much. But at the end of your binge and wake up 2 days after falling asleep, rotten hangovers, dehydrated as all sin. Is there anything else that you wish to do upon that waking moment?
I think we should go and see Nuala.
Okay. Definitely hiding his surprise.
Oh, very well.
That sounds... Do you want me to accompany you?
Yes.
Oh, okay, then.
Just because she might kill me.
Oh, yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, always good to have a cleric nearby, especially when another cleric is trying to kill you. Answers the scales ever so slightly. I also haven't fought anything in forever, and it appears my armor is around. So,
one gauntlet just floats past you, carrying a plate of cheese crackers.
I'm sure it's not important.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, cheese and crackers are very important.
Yes.
The gauntlet can wait.
Would you like to get there quickly? No.
I've not decided.
Whilst you still have some courage?
Courage, yes. I have a bottle.
Maybe a shower.
I will attempt to put something on that used to fit.
You put a couple. You try on a couple of dresses that you have around. They need to be let out. Let's say. to the point that you kind of give up and you just go with you feel like you have to just go with a tunic and the leggings that you wear underneath the armor, which has not been washed for quite a while.
Oh.
Do you want us to go buy you some more clothes first?
No, I think it's some of the nicer fabrics were from different planes, and now they've been sent back. Of course, it is shrunk to
Right.
accommodate its new size, so maybe it'll just stretch out. This celestial fabrics are not very
Right,
forgiving.
right. Yes. Mhm. That's probably is what definitely happened.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go there quickly before I change my
Yeah,
mind.
I'm trying to remember how I can go there quickly, because in my head I'm like, oh, I could just pop over there, but I think I'm probably going to struggle to pop over there now.
You can teleport. It's a gross misuse of the spell.
You can cast Gate.
Just trying to.
You know her name. You just walk out to where she is.
No, because if you say their name when you cast the spell, they come through it to you.
They come to you.
Oh, there's far too many pointy objects in this building. Foundling has a
Sure,
whole
I will
training
just-
room downstairs.
It's outside.
As I'm trying to find it.
You also do need to be outside because of the forbiddance that you put around the.
Yeah, you don't want to
Yes.
do that here because she'll
Yeah.
come through and immediately be killed.
Okay. We're getting there quickly.
All right. You get there quickly by magical means. You approach the familiar door and you just stand there for a moment looking at it.
Shall I knock for you, or
It's an awfully strong door, isn't it? Don't you think, Cedric? Very good.
you should just tap it a couple of times to see how sturdy it is?
I will. I give it the most delicate knock.
You wait for a moment and the door opens.
Bugger.
It's Frode. Hi! Can I? You're the big blue man!
Hello,
Hi! And
is your mum in?
Look, Cedric. It's the child who's named after my late husband, who also died.
Jesus!
Well observed, Ashley. Yes, it does appear to be that child.
Mom! He runs back inside. She goes, Frode, I told you not to open the door. Not unless I...
I'm just going to go stand over here now. And I would literally, Cedric takes like 2 steps backwards. Literally 2 steps, tiny 2 steps backwards. He's barely moved away.
Do you know what I was fully expecting you to do? Just use your invisibility thing and just... and then dash to run away.
Yeah.
Asher.
Nuala? Frode?
Frode, why don't you...
Cedric.
Mr. Scott!
Frode, why don't you go and play in the garden? But I go and play in the garden. Oh. She waits for a moment and hears the back door open and then close. What?
Well, I was having a splendid time at my place, and
Clearly.
Cedric came over and suggested that we should meet up with old and good friends and not kill each other.
I did say most of these things, yes.
She looks at Cedric. This is the angriest you've ever seen her look, Cedric.
Completely oblivious.
Oh, yeah. You understand the emotions.
Yes.
You
I
don't
don't
get
realise it's at me.
Yeah. Well, you've seen me.
And you look very well.
You look
Have
very
you
well fed.
done something with your hair? Do you like weather?
Goodbye, Ash. And she steps back and starts closing the door.
As the door swings shut, if I can, I'm going to try and put my foot in it.
Okay.
Yeah, literally.
Roll a dexterity check.
Laurie, I
Accidentally
appreciate that.
kicked down the entire door.
Boom!
Oh, that's not so good. 7?
She also rolled a 7. What's your modifier?
+1.
That's a 0. So you managed to get your foot just in.
Big toe.
There. You get your foot into the door and just
This is
twist the foot out to just push the door slightly.
sorry. My foot seemed to have just appeared in your door frame. But whilst it's there, maybe Asha has some more things to say about some of the things that she said to you when you were saying things to each other.
Is that true, Asha, or are you going to ask if I like weather again?
I feel like that is a loaded question. I'm sorry
What for?
for being a terrible person to you.
The pressure on your foot, Cedric, eases slightly.
This is 100% Cedric's version of just like kiss and make up. And you're good.
Go on.
I said what I said, and I meant it in the way that I wished you to not. Well, I was meant to die. I'm still meant to die.
We're all
I'm still-
meant to die, Asha.
I was supposed to die about 6 months and 2 days ago. The only difference between your death and my death is you weren't told when it was going to happen.
None of us are told when it's supposed to happen.
I was.
You were going to war. You wouldn't have known, possibly, that it was going to happen.
I'm practically unkillable, but unfortunately, when the war ends, I was supposed to die. I thought if you hated me, you wouldn't care. If anything, you would encourage it.
Just roll a charisma check for me. Straight charisma. Or in your case, D20 plus 5.
7.
Oh.
I'm hammered.
Can I guidance this? I'm trying real hard. Can I assist this?
I would say
I'm
that you have
trying real
advantage.
hard,
Like,
yeah.
say you, Cedric the cock blocker is trying to take off the mantle.
He's trying to
Okay, 8.
It's one better.
Brilliant.
Look, Asha, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's all 6 months too late.
I understand. That's why I wished to leave you to your own devices. I miss you. I do love you. But I also wish you to be happy. And I thought if I stayed away, you might think I would be dead anyway. I've been working on trying it for a while. And
It's true. You should see the state of the castle.
Look, Asha, after my husband died, I hadn't felt happiness for a long time.
I know the feeling.
And you shattered that with a callous thought and words, like it didn't matter.
Understood?
So I can't forgive it, right now.
I wouldn't expect you to.
I'm due to live a long life, so who knows what will happen next. But for now, just let me find you if I want you in my life again.
Absolutely. I wish you the greatest day and enjoy whatever you want to do.
Nuala, can you also add that Ash does something about the stench?
She smiles at that. Cedric thinks you need a wash.
Well, it's probably.
The baths are that way. Alternatively, the sea is that way.
I'm sure there's a bar somewhere in the castle somewhere. And, well, you know where I am. And, again, have the most pleasantest of days. And, goodbye.
Are you going to stick your foot out of the door, Cedric?
Yes, thank you for not breaking it. I just follow Asher, I guess, if Ash is walking away.
You get the door shut.
I think that went really well. You can't say you didn't try.
Thank you, Cedric.
I merely poked you.
For reopening many wounds that had been closed.
Yes, that's what I meant by the poking. I was poking open the wounds.
Yes. It is the reaction I deserved and thought would happen, but nice to know that I have well and truly ruined that.
I think there's more hope in there than you're letting on.
I think it'd be best that you move on.
Oh, I mean, I've done the interfering that I wanted to do.
Well, it's been lovely seeing you for the last 3 days.
Yes, so yeah, I need to, you need a bath and I need to get going, so...
I will walk back. Apparently I could do with the exercise.
Fair enough.
Gonna pop to many bakeries on the way back.
Fair enough. I imagine that when you go there, though, you are ruining the economy because you're just paying in diamonds rather than money.
I mean, causing a lot of damage as well. The first door I go through, I'm practically going to fold in two. I'm holding back, not breaking Cedric's jaw. I'm not wearing my belt.
Yeah, strength is only a 16 at the moment, so that's okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So in that year that follows, does the party regather at any point?
Feels like we should have like maybe at least a yearly reunion.
A memorial. Veterans Day.
Probably, I don't know, probably maybe float back after a while.
We meet at the keep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After another 6 months or so, you do all find your way to the Nebulous Keep. Asher, what state is it in at that point, 6 months later?
Worse.
Oh boy.
Well, the unseen servants do at least keep it relatively clean.
What I've done now is there is now like bottle walls.
Oh, good. So we're students again.
You pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the rest of you do gather outside of the gates with Jeremy. Fresh from whatever it is that you have been doing for the last 6 months.
Interfering
a little bit. And you step into the keep, which is significantly worse than how you left it, and a lot worse.
It's going to be back. Whoa! Some decorating.
I didn't think it could get worse, but it did.
You know when they say that when you lose one of your senses, everything becomes stronger. That is certainly the case for my nose.
Oh dear. Oh, okay.
That is an aroma that I was not expecting.
Aroma.
Apparently, your accent gets a lot stronger as well.
Roll that arm, Matthew. Roll that arm.
Tells you how bad it is.
Aroma.
Aroma.
Any more, and it's Mexican.
Arriba.
But you see Asher, who has now just given up in wearing clothing and has instead taken to wandering around in a duvet.
Toga.
Yeah.
A heavily stained toga.
Yeah. There is egg, chocolate, cream of some sort.
Cream,
Wine.
cheese, creamy
I
cream.
may hand all the stuff out the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can still, there are actually about 100 unseen servants that are just around. You can't ask them to do stuff.
You know what I've just realised? That Asher must have made an active choice to keep this place messy and stinky. Because
Yeah.
there's so many people who could be cleaning this space up right now that it has to be actively commanding them to not tidy up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have built a kingdom of my conscience.
Oh dear. I can only imagine what it looks like.
All your rooms are immaculate.
Yeah.
Just the living room.
And the dining room and the kitchen.
And outside.
Well, actually, no, because the outside it would, yeah, it's the keep
not
gate,
outside.
isn't it? 'Cause of
Yes.
Yeah, the walls are a part of.
yeah. It's one of the weird things to that spell.
Well,
Why do you feel this is a representation of your conscience?
Oh, I don't say that out loud, but I mean, it was easily picked up. I'm wallowing in my own self-pity.
Yeah.
This is what Asher does now.
Are you sad you didn't die?
I
Yes,
think that's...
yes, I really want to play a wizard.
Am I sad I didn't die? No.
Insight. Oh, bloody
Make your insight checks. Asher, make your deception check, I guess.
Oh, this is a bad roll. That's a bad miss.
17?
22.
14.
19.
What was that, Cedric?
14.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 40.
No, I'm not playing Opti.
All right.
I mean,
You're not quite sure. Foundling and Kalatar, you do see through Asher's veil of deceit.
veil of booze.
It's a veil.
Well, what have we all done? It's been so long since I've seen you all.
No, obviously, not quite as much as it appears you've done.
Oh, I mean, I've been working on myself.
You've certainly experienced some kind of growth.
Yes, spiritual. I've learnt to love myself, and it's not all you read on these tablets that are in all the shops. It's okay to love oneself, no matter how you look or feel.
Yes. But I get the impression you don't love yourself that much.
It's all part of the journey, family. All part of the journey.
And where are you
So
going?
becoming a gelatinous cube?
Now that is something only a friend could say. What did you say there, Lirale? I think.
You say it's about the journey. Where are you going?
Well, at the moment, I'm thinking about going to the fridge.
That was a very Bilbo Baggins answer, I feel.
I feel like that is a line from something, but
Yeah.
I'm going here, I'm going there. This place is quite big.
But outside is much bigger.
We've done outside for years, Foundling. I've seen everything out there. We saved the world.
Would you not like
That's-
to come and see that world?
I mean,
There are new things now. Rebuilding. Solvisa is in an entirely different place now.
isn't that amazing? Tell me all about it.
Why don't we go see it for ourselves?
Road trip!
One last adventure.
Yeah!
I mean, we could go on one last adventure. Sounds quite fun.
And with that, we spin up a fresh start to the campaign, and we continue for another 3 levels. Raid some random dungeon or something.
What is it we have to say now? There is life outside of the keep.
For old time's sake.
you make your way to the new Sorisa.
We are actually doing this good.
And the town itself is still bustling somewhat. What was known as the Aurora Wharf in the old Sorisa has been renamed as such. For it's only a couple of miles, a bit further south, so it's not so far away that they had to redraw all the maps. But what they have done is they have resisted temptation to build the city exactly the same. There are a few places, though, that are familiar in the way that they have been built or they've at least been placed. And one that you do find as you're wandering around that does come to mind, it seems that they are getting ready for this. They're getting ready for the Beodromedon Festival. The Festival of the Summer Solstice.
Oh.
It is to be the first within New Sorisa, and is pretty much 2 years after you started your adventure.
Ooh.
Bloody moths.
We should definitely stay for this.
Yeah. It's going to be like a party.
As you're walking through the city, and there are people indeed getting ready for the various celebrations, you can hear the chantings and songs that are being sung that are part of the blessing. And you walk, you see a woman with sort of fiery red hair stepping out of her home, holding what look effectively as hog roast rolls, slabs of meat and gravy, and just slabs of bread.
Yes.
Connor and Asher are both aroused.
Yes. This woman, you recognise, not you.
She.
She's Syndra, the tavern keeper of the old Worn Traveller. The tavern where Kalatar, Lirale, Asher, and Cedric spent their first night together.
Whoa, we don't put it
As
like
a
that.
group. As a Kalatar spent many nights doing other things.
And other people.
She vaguely recognises you all, but it has been a couple of years since she last saw you, and just sort of shakes it from her head and offers you each a hog roast back, effectively.
Thank you. It's about as big as my head.
Thank you.
You follow the general crowd leading their way down towards the Beardrum, towards the Aurora Wharf. You can see that there are a sea of heads that are singing and chanting, and those of you that recognize the language as Celestial. And in fact, you recognize this song. You recognize this song as the songs that were sung at the Dromedon 2 years ago. And it seems these are the same songs that are sung every year. A raft is lowered into the water and a small barrel is placed upon it. Wind blows that raft out into the bay where there are 4 lighthouses that light up this bay. 2 on jetties out to sea and 2 that stand. They are far less impressive. They are pretty much not much more than braziers at this point, but huge nonetheless. As the light spreads and this thing comes out, you see that there is a elderly human person who steps out wearing long poncho-like robes, stepping into the water before they turn around and speak. For those whom this is their first visit, we welcome you. I am Grand Jongler Hylar. On this day, the day in which Lord Apollo will hold his gaze over us for the longest, we sing to his glory and the light in which he provides. For if not for Lord Apollo, we would not have music, we would not have medicine, we would not have life. There is a cheers to Apollo ring out. And so to fuel his rise, we provide him with our offering. As they turn and gesture towards the rafts. The sun is slowly starting to crest, and dawn is beginning to approach. We supply our finest meats and wines in his honor and burn the offering to the gods. Response of, to the gods. We take this moment to celebrate. No one seems to pay attention to you. They're too transfixed on what's going on. To celebrate those who lost their lives during the war last year. And to remember the gods have not forsaken us. They are there, beyond the boundaries. Light the raft! A volley of flaming arrows arch from the sky and impact into the raft, which ignites the barrel. The raft floats out further, passing between the lines of the 2 furthest braziers. And as it crosses that threshold into the open ocean, the first touch of the dawn sun presses the horizon in line with that burning barrel. As a cheer from the crowd, as a wall slowly just rises up between the bay, and as the sun starts to shine, you feel the warmth of the sunlight just washing over the water, heating this communal area. The rest of you remember what happens next. But as the Beardromedon begins, music begins to play. The crowds cheer, and everyone starts to take part in the festival. There are dancers, there are street performers, there are people doing magic tricks, there are food stalls, there are markets. People are trading goods that are surprising to see how quickly the economy has managed to rebound to the point that people are actually trading. You walk past where you remember Vesset had his stall previously, had it been in the same place, where Cedric, you were tasked to bodyguard Vesset, I seem to recall.
Yes.
A few other merchants that are around that you vaguely recognize, and a few other things that happen. And as time comes by, people seem to be getting ready towards an event that the 4 of you that were there previously do remember. What was known as cleansing immersion. There are drinks available that you
the sea drakes, wasn't there?
Yes, the sea drakes do a thing.
Yeah.
Several individuals starts as the sun starts to get to roughly 10-ish in the morning. The waters are steaming, but people are stepping out of buildings completely nude. And after, more people are going into these buildings, changing, disrobing, and stepping out nude. And some are wearing...
Is everyone doing it?
Pretty much, yeah.
God. Oh no.
Some people are wearing things to cover themselves. They
can't see it.
Can't seem to enjoy any of it.
Jeremy tries and describes everything to you.
That man's got a 6-incher. That man, fucking hell, that man's
pendulous is the word. A gong rings out from behind you. It rings again, until the 10th ring has gone, until the Grand Jongler steps forward again, also completely nude, save for a ring on their left hand. They step into the water, equidistant from each of the lighthouses, and raise their arms in silence. As Lord Apollo watches us from his lofty perch, we present to him our bodies so he might purify and cleanse our souls. With the aid of his uncle, Lord Poseidon. To represent this, we call out the embodiment of this unity. He speaks a name, Baharush. And previously there were 4 of these sea drakes. As a gentle flap of wings and a growl comes. This creature with a long body and light blue skin with sort of peach-coloured frills and wings spiral out. Flying, the scales refracting the light in all sorts of wonderful colours before it swoops down, exhaling a jet of scalding water into the bay. As the water parts and the steam rises up off the surface, this dragon-like creature, roughly the size of a mastiff, comes to land. Grand Jongler lifts their hand into the sky and pulls a ring from the finger, dropping it into the water before steam covers their figure. At which point everyone charges into the water. What do you do?
I'm gone. Woo!
Dressed or
Nope.
cool?
Barely wearing anything anyway, were you?
Yep.
Toga.
Toga.
Yeah, Foundling is going with Asher.
Okay. Yeah, just untie. Foundling goes.
Book robe's easy to get rid of on my
Yeah.
on route.
Anyone else? No.
Yeah, I'll get in.
Okay.
A blind man running to the sea.
Yeah, just in the opposite direction.
Jeremy's putting up.
Kellatar's politicking, running back in towards town.
Bonk! The waters are incredibly pleasant and warm. It gives you respite from the sun, being in the water, as you feel it just soak away the stress and the tensions that you have felt over the last few years.
So much tension.
Yep.
Oh, that's
After about an hour or so of bathing, you notice that there are floating plates and bowls that contain fruits and cakes that are there to sate people's hungers. They just float and are placed in.
Can I just sit on?
You can sit and paddle if you want.
I'm going to paddle. With Droney.
Madrona.
Just going to chill.
But as the festival continues, people get out of the water, they return to their various business, and the music continues. The celebration to Apollo and to a new day, the longest day that continues. It feels as if the world is getting to a place where it will return to normality once again. At this point, Wandering Stars, what is it that your characters will be doing for the remainder of their days?
You go first.
Who would like to go first?
I was just going to say I'm going to do this. I'm just going to say I'm going to do this in character. Sort of, we're sitting around chatting and discussing our plans.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to continue to assist with the rebuilding efforts here. Although at some point I would like to return to my home monastery and see Master Lowe, tell him all about this and show him how much I've learned. The one who made me is still out there somewhere. If I hear of them, I won't turn it down, but I'm not going to obsess over it. Quello and Angst, they showed what happens when you spend too much time thinking about what you've lost and obsessing over that. I don't know what I lost, but I know I've gained some true friends and had a chance to do something meaningful. I'm pleased with my life now.
Over the next 10 years or so, Foundling continues to assist with the reconstruction efforts on Fiaris. After a reasonable time dedicating themselves to that project, they return to Caradon, where their home monastery resides, and in passing, overhears a conversation regarding a master who is looking for students that have lost their way. You make your way to where this master resides, and you're surprised to see that they are at a new monastery, but it is indeed your master. And this temple is predominantly made up of the various experiments that have been worked on, including the designation K15, who was also known as, I wrote it down somewhere, where did I write it? Kendall.
Kendall.
Yes. Who had seemingly gone out to find the various experiments and to bring them to a place where they could learn and study, and they happened to have found your master. In all, there are maybe 100 of these students that are being taught how to use their unique abilities and physicalities to the best of your ability, or to the best of their ability, so that they could either return to society as Kendall desires, or to just function as humans, or to follow the gods, each have their own path.
So Foundling will spend some time there and sort of tell their story as an example of how you can find a path.
The story is told and repeated often, and it becomes one of the key teachings of the monastery. Foundling does Foundling teach as well, and try and teach other students, or is it just the story and the lessons?
They're going to do some teaching here, but this is my master's monastery, and I don't need to be a student anymore.
No.
So, if anything, while I'm rebuilding, I'd be maybe taking on some students of my own, or at least looking out for ones that want to learn.
And you do find several acolytes along the way. ones that listen to your stories and feel a kinship. And it seems to be those who feel like everything has happened to them and they need guidance on where to go next to forge their own path. And as your time continues, you actually build up quite a following. Maybe 30 odd students.
And my monastery of Athena.
And your own monastery to Athena. Who'd like to go next? Kota?
Okay. Over the few years, Kalatar would try and build a slightly more personal working relationship with Jeremy, rather than him just being someone that's provided for him.
Sure.
Strike up a partnership. And he'd like to document all of the stories that he's heard.
Okay.
In a way that could be read by generations to come. But also would want to go around and kind of not just kind of tell the stories of the people that he's spoken to, but also tell the stories of the Wandering Stars. And just kind of not let their stories die.
The chronicles of the invasion of the plains becomes a very highly regarded series and historical testament to what had happened over the last year, effectively, over a very short period of time. It contains interviews, it contains stories, it contains filling ins of the gaps where other history lessons and other bards are simply not able to put in because they don't know the background of it. It ends up having to be a 3-book series in order to fit in the entirety of every story that Kalatar has come across and to get them catalogued into the right order. So it is the stories of what happened just before the war, during the invasion, that terrifying, destructive, awful week and a half, effectively, and then the aftermath. Jeremy is very receptive to having this as a business relationship and as a personal relationship, and you and he become very good friends. Never romantically, but
I wouldn't want that for him.
No, he is not inclined that way as it happens. He is
absolutely fine.
He does have himself a partner. He does find himself a partner whom he takes with you on the story. And she is a very skilled calligrapher, and she does write down the stories for you.
Oh wow! Please tell me it's the TV series, not the film.
Yeah,
TV series. It is an excellent partnership, and he becomes a very dear friend to you for quite some time. There are complications.
Fact that I can't see?
No, I was thinking more the big black dragon that you are indebted to.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't.
After the first print run is sent for the first prints of the books, Belgabad summons you.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
To come and have a discussion in the swamp.
How you doing, bud? Looking great. Well, I wouldn't be able to tell.
having witnessed the destruction and being told about it from his son, who did accompany you for various points, Belgrad has expressed a wish to provide some form of aid, which is unusual for a black dragon.
Yeah.
You are unsurprisingly dubious of this,
Yes.
but
As much as I love him.
you are able to convince some of the high level of authority that Belgrad is there to assist.
He's a reformed character.
Well, the thing is, Belgrad was never a destructive, tear down cities type of dragon and gather the hordes that way. He was always quite happy to live in his swamp and people would come to him and he would just eat them because they attacked him.
Sounds like
It's my swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a certain ogre.
He has many layers.
Dragons are like onions. As a gift of good faith, he provides his scales, which are used in a lot of the constructions of some of the other parts and some of the noble royal buildings, which makes life quite impressive. It is interesting to look upon. Your partnership with Belgrad does sort of come to a amicable conclusion, mostly because you're not adventuring anymore. Belgrad gets bored of you, and he does find other followers who do sort of come to him as a result of this, and he releases you from the binding.
Nice.
Do I get to keep the scale?
Yes.
Yes.
But Kelatar lives a happy life. If he wants to, he is able to start a family.
I think he probably would, if only because he'd probably get bored of whoring.
He does settle down.
And I guess it's probably a little difficult to keep doing that when you can't see.
You underestimate.
I underestimate the power of the half-orc penis. But,
yeah, his little white stick. But Kelatar is able to find a wife, a friend of Jeremy's wife. That she sets them up, and you eventually settle down in basically semi-detached houses next to each other.
Aww.
And
bang on the wall. Jeremy, I need you. I've got an idea.
Well, she helped. Your wife helps you after a while, and eventually children come along for both of you. And over the next 50 years or so, you live next to each other until you reach your natural ends.
Nice.
That's possibly the weirdest moment to come back to.
Kelatar found a woman and had babies.
Oh, that's nice. It's actually true. That's nice.
Yes.
Who would like to go next?
I don't mind going next.
Cedric.
I think mine might be more of a simpler one. So
Cash in your favour.
yeah, I don't know what for.
You know what for.
He's gonna hang it over that half elf whore's head. What's her name again?
She had a name.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for the session. I've only ever heard about this in retrospect.
I've forgotten what her name was, but
Samira.
Samira, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Sure, let's say it.
I literally, in my notes, I have Samira, the half elf whore, owes me a favour.
yeah.
So I'm gonna just loom it over her head for the rest of her life. No.
I mean, that brothel doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed.
Probably what I would do is spend the rest of my time on the farm with Fiora and help her out. And, actually maybe put together a little bit of what's left of my family. And of course, I will be inviting Gundamir to join me.
Yes.
Oh, and probably now and then meddling in the affairs of Nuala and Asha.
Yes, it's an annual occurrence.
Goes, "Oh."
Just every so often, there's just a nod that says,
And to be honest, on the Nuala thing, probably will become a situation where it becomes more of like it does become a bit of an annual tea catch-up chat with a little tiny mention of Asha, but more around just a catch-up thing rather than it being the only objective.
Okay. Yeah, you do go quite happily with Gundamir does take up the offer to go with you. He does seem to think for a little while that it is intended romantically
Aww.
Break it all.
and
Was
isn't
my intention. Claim to think that's not.
Wow.
does
Dangerous waters you walk there, my friend.
does
From experience.
does Cedric feel that way, or
Cedric just isn't bothered. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe, but just more like a companionship thing rather than actual like a romantic thing.
I like you. We should hang.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
and even if it is like a kind of we should hang and just live in the same house and like have breakfast every morning together and basically be a married couple, but we're
Not the.
not
Yeah.
A
though.
bromance.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
okay. Gundamir is happy with that arrangement, and as you get to your family, well, he has his own partners that he
It's
does.
fine. It's not fine.
Narrator.
Gundamir does have. He's very fond of Cedric and does have his own partners.
And Cedric would be quite clear about his intent. He's not like trying to string along or
No.
anything like that. It's quite
No.
obvious that it's just not his ballpark.
Yeah, so to speak. But the farm, you are happily retired to the farm. There is nothing, no major occurrence happened over the next few years, and you are there to see your nephew grow up, and to see that part of your family still live on. Maybe 20 years or so later, you are taking a walk on your own, just walking the island as you often want to do, when you hear the sound of wing flaps and a large green dragon lands.
Oh.
The rider upon it is Ewan.
Oh.
Hello, Cedric.
Yes. Hello. I'm a little bit surprised to see you.
I wasn't sure that I would see you either until we got here.
And what are you doing here?
Well, for want of nothing else, I just wanted to see that our family is still together, what is left of it, before I went off.
We are well, but you did a lot of damage. Directly or indirectly, your actions.
I know. And I regret it, which is why it has taken me so long to come here. That woman held sway over me for quite a long time. And I do regret that.
You said you're going somewhere. Where are you going?
We are going to head further east. see if there are new lands where we can settle. Everywhere we go in this part of the world and Caradon, we find ourselves attacked because of the scales. We just want to live out our lives and be at peace until the world forgets all we do.
It wouldn't be very Cedric of me if I didn't at least offer the opportunity for you to come visit whenever you want.
I appreciate that, brother. But I would not want to disrupt what you have going here. He looks up at the farmhouse on the hill. I miss them. Where did you bury them?
In Pariah Deep. There'll be some statues. You should recognize them.
We will not be going there, but it is good to know where they are. Thank you.
As I know you said you didn't want to disturb, but if there's anything you need, then I will always be here. And maybe when our nephew's a bit older, I can explain how some people can make decisions that will negatively impact the world, but how you can forgive them for it.
We have a nephew.
Yes.
How old is he?
Did you say like 30 years later?
Yeah,
so
about
like
30 years later.
So in fact, I'm like talking. He's
But he's a little bit older.
Yeah, Furbolgs are a bit of a thing age. Yeah, he must be like what 40 odd? No, 35.
Late 30s.
Yeah,
ish. The Furbolgs live to either 140 or they're about 80. I'm not sure.
I can't even remember off my head.
Well, it is good to know that our legacy will live on somewhat, or at least the stories of our home tribe. Maybe I'll go back there.
And remember what Papa used to say. What doesn't mean to be compassionate? No, what does it mean to be compassionate? Not merely verbal, but actually be compassionate.
He did used to say that right before he slaughtered a goat.
As all of the sayings always came.
Are we the baddies?
Only to goats.
What now someone needs to do is go back through it. Every time there's a quote, imagine the goat has just been slaughtered after the quote.
I'm sure there was one from like Chairman Mao or something.
Well, thank you, Cedric. I will.
Oh, yeah.
I will look fondly back at this. We may return one day, but at the moment, I think the scars are still too raw.
I look forward to when you do.
He takes a step forward as if he wants to embrace you and just pauses unsure.
I will embrace. And then swiftly receive a dagger on my back.
Yeah. His arms do come around, and you feel the tension in his shoulders as you wrap your arms around him. And then the release, and he turns and climbs upon his dragon. And they take off, disappearing over the skyline. You do see him again once. Maybe 20 years later. He flies overhead. Before he and his dragon seemingly die and fall into the sea. But it seems that that is their natural end. They had flown back specifically for this last moment. Because when you pull their bodies out of the water, they are old and they are content. And it just seems that he wished his final resting place to be here with his family.
And my nephew is now old enough
Yeah, he's old enough
to
now.
tell the story.
Yes. You're in your dotage, but
Yes.
now you can tell your nephew the stories. And your nephew now has his own children.
Yeah.
And the story does continue.
Does he tell them all the voice sayings his uncle always used to say before the goes?
Started off my grandpappy, and then
Well, it also does get to the point where they think that they're just sort of the ramblings of an old man, mostly because every time he brings up the psychic giant octopus, it does tend to confuse them.
And he's like, I used to be able to turn into an octopus, now I can't. And they're like, yeah, sure, you can.
Sure,
Yeah.
Uncle Cedric.
Yeah.
sure, Granddad.
Leela, Lyra, or Asher?
I can go next.
Okay.
Lyra will actually spend much of the following years travelling around Vera and Tipperary, going where she's needed if a monster crops up or some need, but also to teach people in various places. But we'll make a base at the Grove at New Guildhall. While she is there, the hall is decorated with sort of the bronze trophies, as is traditional, but she doesn't much care for them, and instead has sort of rediscovered a pastime from her youth, which, hey, who knew that Lyra was proficient with woodcarver's tools? But yeah, she sort of adopts the forest just outside the Grove. It becomes her domain, kind of, and she will sort of find wood, and carve it into all sorts of things, and decorates more sort of her personal room in the Guildhall with it. And she will carve particular memories of the great adventure she had with her friends or people. There's a very nice carving of I've lost his name. I always do that. Bellomas, who in the end she actually quite liked in his way. And also she finds a piece of large board of holly wood, very, very pale wood, and in that she carves pictures of all her family, including the vague memories she has of her mother and father. Because in this time she probably comes to terms with the fact that she won't be able to follow that last clue, that one last lead that told her that her parents were alive and in the Feywild. She has a a vague hope, but knows it probably won't come to anything. And yeah, she'll probably spend the next few decades like that until she feels like the guild and Eros is in a position where she can move on.
The guild at that point is several hundred strong, and it is made up of men, women, people of all races and colours and creeds that have come together and understand that the hunt is not necessarily something for glory, although it is worth remembering the trophies that you gather along the journey. But it is about protection, it is about self-growth, it is about keeping balance and order. During the years that you spend in De Grove, Orion does come to visit, that last link of family. And you and he have many conversations, just trying to remember each other, your family, your parents and your sister, and your hometown. As you're coming to the end of the point at which you are leaving Fiaros and you're leaving the guild in good hands, in the new wave of Orions that have come up since, which are promoted in a much more traditional way because the Sphinx has also, the Doe was also taken back through the Undoing. You gather word that research has led to a possibility of stepping through the barriers in the plains. And particularly that research is in Alfheim.
And she was heading for Alfheim anyway.
Yeah. You make your way up to Alfheim and you are met as you head for, presumably you head for Blaine rather than Vanthalda.
Yes. Yes.
And you are met at the docks by Joannalis, who does, as elves are often shown, has not aged a huge amount in the 30, 40, 50 years since you last saw him. Or at least last spent any great time with him without having your own separate mission. And he welcomes you back and discusses with you some of the findings that he and his mages have made over the last 30 years about the theoretical ability to pass through the plains and what steps are then needed to make it practical. These conversations happen over dinner, though, and are often private affairs with just you and he, reminiscing on stories and getting that time, just the two of you, like you had back in the Shadowfell so long ago, when life felt almost carefree. The weight of responsibility did not fall on anyone's shoulders. And somehow you got shoved into a portal because Ash did something stupid in the past life.
Yeah.
God, I learned.
Is there anything that you wish to do with your relationship with Joannalis?
I mean, presumably he hasn't already got a relationship with someone else at this point.
At this point, no, not. He is honest and he has dated and had courtship with other women in the interim, but none had I was going to say none had taken his sword quite the way that you did, and no, I meant that literally because he did give Lyra a sword that she then returned to him. None had been.
She did.
None had been worthy of his family's sword. No. You know what I mean.
We do. We're twisting it.
I know, 'cause it's funny. None had been right. For if you are to pair bond with someone over centuries, it needs to be the right person. So he had still been looking for that kinship.
So Lyra would be willing to explore that, see if it really was right and it wasn't just the epic romance of the Shadowfell. Not just sweeping her off her feet. But, you know, if they could have a proper relationship and if they could make it work, given her, she is an elf, but she's not like the other elves on Alpine.
No, she isn't. She is an outsider in pretty much all regard. However, she is accepted and welcomed into the community of Alpine and Valhalla. And the Blade, so to speak. The courtship with Gerenalis does indeed develop strongly. And after maybe a year or so, he does propose.
Oh.
And they become man and wife. Or elf and wife, I guess. Shortly after that, a child is born. As is the custom with royal lineages, that an heir is born. And probably a second does come along at a later point. But once that first child has had grown up, maybe 100 years or so later, and Gerenalis is ready to abdicate, the news comes in that the studies into the plane of travel have finally borne some sort of fruit. And so Gerenalis offers to you that if you want, you could step into the Feywild and the two of you could roam there and try and find your family.
And after many years, centuries of putting it off, of finding, you know, discharging every other obligation, Lyra would agree, and that can be their big adventure going forward.
So the two of you standing there with the two of you each actually standing with your own Moonblade, step through into the Feywild to find out where this world will take you. But we don't know where that will find us. Leela and Asher. Which one? Leela?
Yeah. Yeah, shortly after our last meet and greet with all the naked people, Leela will go back and kind of, because she hasn't really been. She joined right at the end. What did we say? It'd only been.
She'd been there like a month or so.
Yeah,
month or two.
kind of like she was just like, not really a lot has changed. She's gone back to home and is just helping kind of rebuild home, but also is absolutely fascinated by obviously the blimp.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of makes it a bit of a mission to understand it, learn about it, and make it, well, yeah, build more, essentially. I'm thinking that this sort of technology should be accessible. It would kind of help rebuild the world, even though probably after the time blimps are built, the world's kind of back to a decent place. But yeah, she's kind of just happy to tinker along. She definitely remodels the blimp. No more of those tentacly things. No, this is more kind of blimp.
It's a friendly blimp.
This is more blimp shape as we know a blimp to be. So yes.
Full of helium and
Something like that. But like
More like a big Winnebago.
but
crash and burn.
but still like kitted out like Leela would be. And she works to kind of, once those blimps are kind of maybe up and running, she probably help settlements build more, help kind of just develop the world technological wise as well, because in her seeing she saw that it just wasn't really a thing, so she wanted to try and like better people's lives with technology, even though it is also kind of bad, but she'll always mean it as a good thing. And I want to create drones to give people as pets. So I want everyone to have a droney friend.
So over the next sort of 5 years or so, you spend your time rebuilding and dedicating your rest hours to studying the blimp and understanding the technology and how it flies. You are able to discover how the mechanisms work and the power that is contained within it, and you are indeed able to replicate it. It takes about a year or so to build a new one, but it is certainly doable, and it takes off quite literally.
And what I'll do is like
Poor choice of words, but I had no option.
When the first one works, I'll bounce around to try and find everyone and just like literally kind of drop in on people and just like catch up with them. And she'll make that kind of not a yearly thing, but one day you guys are just walking down the road and then just suddenly a blimp's out there and Leela's just kind of shouting through a megaphone, being like, "Hi, Calypso!"
It doesn't have the same planar jumping abilities it did before, well held, but it does. It can teleport as well, but it does require a much longer recharge in order to do it now. Magic is not quite as strong for those sort of teleports, but it is able to. You are able to set up
electric charging point.
Effectively, you are able to set up a magical recharge point in the various countries and various major cities.
You have to detour out of your way to go and recharge.
Yes.
You do manage to help with technological developments. It was something that Ms. Tumal had been particularly secretive of, but once it has been rebuilt and the number of people that were coming in and out to help with the rebuilding of it, they decided that it was worth their while to actually spread this and take it out of the caves and take it out into the cities. They would still have their main guild hall being within Ms. Tumal, but actually people would be a lot more active in working throughout the cities and developing them, particularly main more, making it more, for lack of a better word, more steampunk.
Yeah.
What is it called? Is it Union City or in Legend of Korra?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
It's not Union City.
No, I know what it is.
I know what you mean.
It's the big collective city anyway.
Yeah.
But
Republic City.
Republic City, thank you. But you are able to startle various members of the party with your blimp. They are usually a bit smaller, the blimps that you make. They're less
different sizes.
You make them in different sizes. You
They
make
can
a
be like industrial size, personal size.
personal transportation blimp.
I've got one that deploys a crab.
Yeah. You are very successful in your drone making business, where drones are produced and people can purchase them to be then have then as pets and helpers.
Yay.
But in your long life, you are able to enjoy the fruits of your labours and the technological advances that come on as part of it. And you feel incredibly accomplished. You also do quite well within the guild. You get promoted quite quickly.
And that's not just because I know a guy.
No, because shortly after you are promoted, Grandpa Wolf does die because he is an old. He is old. He was old, and your father does take over. But there are a number of. You say your father takes over. Your mother runs pretty much everything. Your father is a little bit.
Of it. Your mother runs everything.
Pretty much, yeah. But between the two of them, they make it a very formidable force once again, and everything goes well. And you are finally able to reconstruct Dronad.
Oh, so many drones, all different shapes and sizes.
Industrial,
personal. Ones with little ears on them.
Just bunny ears. Asher.
I leave it about a year doing what I'm doing. And then I go
Weigh
and
about £300.
yeah. I'm a chonky paladin now.
Yep.
I go and see Drenalis.
Uh-huh.
And I believe I was once offered a seat on the council.
You were. Drenalis accepts. He does, however, suggest that you take some time to sort yourself out
Sort your shit.
before you come and take the responsibilities.
That's fair. While sorting myself out, I purchase a small house, basically like directly opposite Nuala.
As soon as you said it, I went, "Oh no!" Yeah.
And I try and live as a regular life as you can. But I also make sure that when she goes out to work, I also go out to work at the same time.
Oh boy.
And it's just like occasionally, oh, hi neighbor. And I start working out. But I don't use any of my magical items.
No.
You still got the teeth in?
Yes.
I can't take them out, unfortunately. If I take them out, I do die. That's an easy way of achieving that one. But yeah, any of the belt, Shatterfang, armor is all kept locked away until I can actually use it safely again.
You spend. It doesn't take long for your muscle memory to come back into effect and for you to start to develop the training regimen and the discipline again, to burn off the excess weight and to get closer to your own physical fitness that you were previously. Obviously, a couple of years out, will do that to you. And you're never quite back to how you were in your prime.
Well, we did a lot.
Yeah. But you do manage to get into a fairly good physicality of yourself. Nuala does, at the first couple of times that you cross paths, does insist on going the long way round to avoid having to walk in the same direction as you. Until eventually she gives up on that because it's just not practical anymore.
I was getting late to work.
Yeah. And over the next 6-7 months or so, you sort of develop the friendly, relaxed rapport that you get between neighbours that just sort of see each other occasionally. Tom, you've disappeared off camera.
He's there.
Oh, you were snacking, sorry. Eventually, you and Drenalis come to an agreement of your role upon the council, and you are a seat. You are given your seat, and you are given jurisdiction over the military, which thankfully is not really needed, bar a few incursions with the giants in Jotunheim and Muspelheim. That was the word I was looking for. As time goes on, maybe a year or so, Nuala does finally seem to forgive you. She never gets to the point of broaching the subject, though. She just seems to have gotten to a place that she was before it all happened. And doesn't seem to be ready to go back to that place. At least for now. But she does comment on how you're looking more like yourself and you are back to your own physicality and talking stories of the adventures that you had gone on together and stories that she now tells Frode, particularly from this wonderful book by Keller Tarkleby, written by a ghostwriter.
I have my own signed copy.
But the stories that she is now telling to Frode, yes.
I would like the book to be available in Braille as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oh, it's got an audio guide. It's got an audio book. Which is
help you make the audio book.
Yeah, which is just you going around and speaking in a tap and doing reading. Sweet. But eventually she does come to the point of, shall we try this again? At least something.
That's all I have ever wanted.
The two of you do go out and you do start to begin the courtship anew. It's not as intense as it was the first time around. There is a degree of awkwardness that takes a while to fade away. There is a element of, we've been down this road before. It's like going out with someone that you've known for a long time. You've been quite close to it, but something has gone wrong along the way, and it's just that change back.
It's always there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it hanging over. It's like a sword of Damocles. But after a few years, you do get to the point where the relationship is going to where it would go, and going into marriage again, if you are both prepared and willing for it.
Which I would invite all my friends.
To which you invite all of your friends, and they do.
All 6 of them.
They do attend. Foundling, Cedric, Leela, Lirale, Gundamir. Those 6.
I was thinking more the dwarf.
Yeah.
Who's never going to get this sword.
No, he is constantly going, you're fitting well, are you? You're fitting well, you're not having a heart attack today.
Must have seemed so happy while I was grossly overweight.
Do you not want a cheeseburger?
Do you want another meat pie? I can do you a meat pie.
Just keeps forging really elaborate cake slices in the host.
I'm vegan now. Yeah. Fully plant-based.
So you and Nuala do settle into your life together. And you live it out as a member of the council. You are there when Lirale returns, although at that point in your life you're probably in your 80s as well by the time that Lirale There's music going on outside.
Yeah, because I don't age as slowly as
You
elves.
have a human's lifespan, I think.
No, it's elongated, but not as much. Yeah, the acid.
Okay. You're in your 80s, but you look
I'm
like you're in
old.
your 50s. Yeah.
Okay, there was ghosts in the house.
TV's turned
Someone
on.
has turned the TV on.
Weird.
That's why there was music.
You spend your time with Nuala and Froze, and you're there when Liralair comes, and you are attend her wedding. But as you spend some of your time, one of the times that Cedric does come by, you are beginning to notice his age as well. And after a few more years, decade or so, the two of you begin to come to the fact that if the bond is still in place, that this will be the end for both of you at some point. And separately, in your own homes, with your loved ones, two of you do pass. Cedric, you find yourself in the Raven Queen's embrace, and you belatedly take on your destiny to be a guardian and a guide for those who pass and lead them into the next world.
It was a long road, but it was the right one for Cedric. So.
Yeah. For the arrangement that she had with you was that you would fall when she did. And only Asher had a timeline on that previously. Asher, when you open your eyes again, you are in Valhalla, in your prime. And you are sat at the side of Odin, who looks to you and says, "Took you long enough."
Just thought I'd drag it out as long as possible.
Yes, I didn't think it through when I agreed to put that barrier around the world. Never mind. We've had some competition. You look over and you see Ranveig is sat at his other hand.
Killed her once before.
Well then, my Valkyries. Let's see what happens at Ragnarok. And that is where we leave the story of the Wandering Stars. Having completed their various adventures, lived their lives.
Good God, it was old age that did it. Who thought that would happen?
Yeah, all of the things that could have killed Asher.
Yeah.
Old age! He made me wait till I grew less awesome.
Well,
Make sure you didn't die in a battle.
yeah. That's the thing. It's these characters have gone on for a while, and I think they deserve that ending. Mostly because they fucked with the world, so that they couldn't actually. Asher and Cedric couldn't just be yanked off at any given moment.
Wow. Thing is, though,
That's why Asher was living the way she was. It was like, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Once he gets his strength back, it's done.
Yup.
Then after a year, you're kind of like,
Maybe they will.
maybe he's busy.
Then after 50 years, you're like, maybe.
Maybe I've wasted some time.
So we are going to be taking a little bit break from the D&D so that we can get everything set up for the new campaign that will be coming sometime probably in February, maybe March. We'll see how it goes. But until then, we are going to be keeping you plied with probably board game content. Maybe some one-shots will come along at some point throughout that.
One shot sound good.
We can probably hit up.
Laura's going to DM for the first for us.
Make that straight.
She said it, so she's going to do it. But we are going to go and we'll see how that goes. And we'll try and get some board games in. So that Ross can join in, Tom maybe can.
Fridays are usually best. So.
We'll put doing that. In the meantime, we're going to go raid Panda Angel because
Who's Panda Angel?
Panda Angel is another board game streamer that I know from my time doing the playtest with.
So you know this person, you haven't just just pick up someone. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Pick a random.
So
game,
we'll head over there and we'll go see it. But until then, thank you for watching, everyone. Yes, Tom.
We're going to roll some dice at the end of the session.
Do you want to do that on stream?
I'm happy to do that on stream.
All right.
Cool.
So the way that we are deciding character stats for the new campaign is that everyone is a way that Connor and Matt have been doing in their campaign. Everyone rolls 4d6, drops the lowest, and that creates a collective 6-stat pool for everyone to use. So we shall see how this goes.
Apologies, dump stat in advance.
I'm going to have to do it digitally because I removed all my dice from my desk.
Oh, terrible.
The panda.
Okay, so go ahead and roll.
Power dice. But I hate putting stuff away.
What do you do?
You drop the lowest one.
And then you add them up.
So how many? Sorry, what was it? Roll
46, drop the lowest.
6, draw the lowest.
Tom,
17.
He's making a note.
17. Okay,
Cool.
Really good.
cool. Ash, Connor. I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Dom.
9.
Yes. Okay. Laura.
11.
Okay. Matt.
12.
Okay.
16.
16, and then Ross.
14.
14.
That's a good array. I like that.
That's a pretty good spread. 17, 19, 11, 14, 12, 16 for you all to use.
Isn't that basically the standard array at
No.
that point?
Rather better than standard.
Yeah.
It's significantly better because you get an extra plus
Oh yeah, of course.
3, and you get but you have a -1. So
What do I not need in the next campaign?
Yeah.
Or rather, what do I do? What do I need? But would be funny if I had a negative on it.
hey, Steph, thank you for subscribing with your Prime for 7 months. That is, I think that's our longest subscriber.
Yes, she is the longest subscriber.
Number 1 follower.
But yeah, so we're going to go to our scheme. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to check out how our board game streams are going, check out Instagram and Twitter to see when we're doing things. Usually it's Wednesdays and probably on Fridays as well. Until then, stay safe, look after yourselves, and thank you very much, everyone. Good night. And we're going to go raid.